More than 20 million blind are waiting for donor corneas, and pinhole pupilloplasty can be a big advantage in many of these cases. In pinhole pupilloplasty, we are making the pupil 1.5 to 1 millimeters. We coined the term aberropia as a new refractive entity in 2002 and designed with the Holiday pinhole device, which we can keep in front of the patient and ask them which pupil size they like. In a normal eye, the light will go through, but in a corneal opacity, the rays of light are blocked. The idea is, can we create a decentered pinhole pupil? Once that is created, the rays of light will pass through the decentered pupil onto the fovea, and the patient will see. If you see this animation, the patient has a central corneal opacity. The IOL has been placed. We need the decentered pinhole to be in the pseudophakic area and not in the aphakic area. So in other words, it has to be under the IOL and also in an area where the upper and the lower lid are not covering the pinhole. This was a patient from Singapore who had a trauma and a Yamane. We perform the single pass 4-throw pupilloplasty technique when we are doing the pinhole pupilloplasty. In the Singapore patient, basically what we have to do is we wanted to create a pupil which is decentered away from the scar in an area where the cornea is clear and also over the optic portion of the IOL. But subsequently, we had made a mistake as the post-op vision became only 660 and the pupil was under the scar. So we took the patient back to the OR, closed up the existing pupil and created a fresh pupil away from the central scar. This was a decentered pinhole and we measured it with the Keratoconus gauge showing the size was about 1 millimeter. Post-operatively, 2 weeks, the vision improved to 6.9. We can see the fundus through even a 1 millimeter pupil. This was another patient with a corneal ulcer. It was subsequently treated and became a corneal scar. Now these cases normally go for penetrating keratoplasty, but we decided to manage them with a decentered pinhole pupilloplasty technique. We took the patient to the OR, did the cataract surgery through the phacoemulsification technique. Once the IOL was implanted, then we started the single pass 4-throw pupilloplasty. As we made the pupil smaller and smaller, the idea was to close up the pupil to such a level that we have a decentered pinhole of about 1 to 1.5 millimeter. The advantage in the 4-throw pupilloplasty is you can keep on repeating it as many times as you want. If you want, you can use also the vitrectomy probe to see that the pupil is correct size. You can see the Purkinje images over the corneal opacity and the pinhole pupil is off-centered, in other words, decentered. The vision on post-op day 3 was 6.9 N6 without glasses. When we see another case here of a keratoconus with a central scar, to assess the area of the scar, it's better to see that patient on a paraxial light. Once the cataract surgery is done, we measure the 6 millimeter optical zone portion. The IOL was subsequently implanted. Then we started to perform the single pass 4-throw pupilloplasty. Once again, the idea was to create the decentered pinhole pupil in an area where the cornea is clear, but also in an area where the pinhole will be lying over the optic portion of the IOL. We started working from periphery to center. Once that was done, you take a vitrectomy probe and make the pupil the size you would like it to be. The ideal size of the pinhole would be 1 to 1.5 millimeters. Pinhole pupilloplasty is a 100% reversible procedure. For example, if you are not satisfied with your result, you can always do a penetrating keratoplasty. Post-op 1 week, the vision improved to 6.9 N6 And one can also see the intraocular lens right under the decentered pinhole pupilloplasty.